Hello, everyone. So, welcome to the Mega Show, is what I'm going to call it. The reason to call it the Mega Show is because we have a ton of stuff. One could almost say a lot of stuff. This is the first part of, I think, what will end up being like a 3-part show. So, to start off, I'll be talking. I'm going to be going through some stuff. Then I will be joined by Alon, and we'll be talking about Nolan and if he's overrated. And then we've got a very, very special interview with Joe Quesada at the end of the episode. Now, obviously, all 3 of these parts will also be released. Oh, and there is going to be a special movie review, 4th part. All these parts will be released separately as well. I don't know if this is just an audio thing in terms of like the whole big mega show. But there's definitely 4 things at some point in time being released. With that being said, hello everyone. So I'm back today, and of course I'm Khalil, and you can find me on social media at KhalilJamal03. And welcome to another episode of the Comic Boy Show. I'm here by myself today for this part of it, at least, because I'm just going to run through some things that have happened. I've been trying to record this for 2 weeks now. I think I started preparing for this 2 weeks ago. So, we got a little new format here. If you're watching on YouTube. You're gonna see a little bit of new formatty stuff going forward as well, because we will be back on Skype now, as I've figured out the issue I had with Skype from before. Shout out to Skype for helping me figure that stuff out. I'm sitting in a different chair because I couldn't get the lighting to work because it's bright outside because I'm recording this during the day. So, it's a little bit of a different background too. Also, I know the image is stretched. There's a whole bunch of stuff which will be slowly worked out over time. This is literally just a pilot. So anyways, without further ado, today, for however long this takes, we're going to start off by talking about some of the SAG strike updates, which aren't actually new anymore. They were when I wrote this. We're going to talk about the Fantastic Four casting leaks again, which aren't new anymore, but were when I wrote this. We're also going to talk about, I've also ranked my top 5 DC TV shows and my top 5 sitcoms. So we'll go through both those lists. And then 2 little reviews at the end. Oh, and David Ayer said some stuff about Suicide Squad, and then 2 reviews, one of Billion Dollar Heist and one of High School Musical, the musical, the series, season 4. So sit back, relax, get some popcorn, do something, and get ready to enjoy the very, very long, probably, episode of me rambling and talking about a bunch of random stuff. So with that being said, time for the first thing, which is...
I'm sure that is happening.
Yeah, so I feel like I'm insulated in...
Okay, so now I can be heard again. Okay, that's great. So anyways, Stephen Amell, Zachary Levi, I'm going to my list again, and Jamie Lee Curtis all had things to say on the strike, on video. So let's see what they had to say.
I'm sure that is happening.
Yeah, so I feel like I'm insulated in Hollywood because that's where I live. I literally live in Hollywood. Like all the stereotypes that exist. So I feel like a lot of people in this room aren't aware of the strike. I support my union, I do, and I stand with them. I do not support striking. I don't. I think that it is a reductive negotiating tactic. And I find the entire thing incredibly frustrating, and I think that the thinking as it pertains to shows like the show that I'm on that premiered last night, I think that is...
Woo!
I think that it is, I think it's myopic, and I stand with my union.
And the
So that was what he had to say on this. I sound a little echoey. Not sure why. Just gonna have to make sure that everything's still working a-okay. Oh, right, my volume's on. I forgot. Okay. So anyways, that happened. He said that stuff. Myopic, all these other fancy words. Reductive. He's wrong. But anyways, he did go on to write a long Instagram post trying to defend his comments. And then as you can see on the picture on the side, he ended up showing up to the strike. This was, I think, yesterday. But, he did that. Now, that's not the only person who had to say something. So let's hear what the next person had to say.
To talk about TV shows that I made. This is so dumb. I'm not allowed to talk about any of my previous work. I'm not allowed to talk about movies that I may be a superhero in. I'm not allowed to talk about TV shows that I may have been a nerd who worked at a Best Buy kind of Malcolm. I'm not allowed to talk about any animated princess movies that I was fantastic in as the best prince ever. I'm not allowed to talk. I'm not allowed to talk about those things.
And so, yeah, that's what he had to say on those things and that whole situation. Now, he was, again, not the only one. And by the way, sorry for the technical difficulties. Those will happen as I try to figure out this whole new system, which I've intricately created anyways. So he said that. Now, again, he's wrong. I feel like I should just point that out. I don't know. There's not really much to say on these except for the fact they're wrong. But there's one more person who had some stuff to say. So let's see what this person had to say. Right.
I can be Switzerland in all this and say that I hope that both sides see the value of continuing conversation. The issues are real. And my hope is that no one will be happy with a settlement, but we will get back to work. And that's just the nature of a settlement, is both sides aren't happy. So we're all going to have to give up something to get something. And I hope that what we get to do ultimately is continue our work.
So again, this is probably the least inflammatory thing said. Now, when I kind of look at all of this kind of together, all three of these statements, I think the real reality, which some people don't want to admit, is half these actors do want to work, right? Like, they obviously enjoy what they're doing. Others, they probably wouldn't be doing it, right? Like, on a very basic level. If you enjoy what you're doing, you don't want to have to stop doing what you're doing, right? However, and I think, by the way, all three of these, probably Jamie Lee Curtis the least of them, but I think they're all very poorly communicated. But I think at the end of the day, and I don't think anyone will deny this, even actors, like, obviously, you don't think the actors want to work? Of course they do. There's no one saying the actors don't want to work. However, they do have to do this for the greater good or to achieve kind of their end goal. And so I think, it's a sacrifice they have to, they're making a sacrifice on their part, right? You think a lot of these actors, especially these ones who make significantly more than they would be striking, obviously they want to act, right? Obviously they want to talk about their stuff. That's not a hot take. I think the reality is, and I think this is poorly communicated by these actors, but I do truly believe they all want to work and they all want to talk about their stuff. They're all proud of their projects, as they should be. But I think at the same time, they have to understand, and I'm sure they do to some levels, like, this is a necessary evil, essentially. Because, again, you tell people, stop doing what you love to do, but for the sake of the greater good, right? They're okay to do that, but I just think these are poorly communicated. I think at the end of the day, Jamie Lee Curtis probably said the best, where it's like, look, everyone wants to work, everyone wants to act. We just got to find a way to get through this. And that's probably the reality. And I think, again, it's good on Stephen Amell for going out and trying to fix the screw-ups that he had with his whole attempt to justify his comments. Zachary Levi, I don't think has done much about trying to address those comments. But at the end of the day, that's where we are on the strike stuff. Now, the studios are loving this. Do you know why the studios are loving this? Because that means they have a lot of their burden on them is greatly diminished. And what they like to do, and this is a very general comms tactic, right? Which you see a lot of. Because remember, all leaks are intentional in some way or another. No random, no-name person at Marvel leaks stuff because they don't need to, right? Unless you're going to publicly say it was you, they don't benefit from it, right? The people who leak things are agents. The people who leak, when you see casting announcements leaked, it's the agents leaking them, not the studios. Well, sometimes it's studios. In this case, it's probably the studios, not the agents. Because the studios want to turn the page on all the stuff happening with the strike. They want to move on from this so people don't talk about it, and they want to talk about the casting, which is why we got randomly during the middle of the strike and all this other stuff, Fantastic Four casting announcements just out of thin air, because totally Disney did not, you think about the logic there, right? Disney understands Fantastic Four will turn the page. People discuss the actors, right? They probably haven't, and they also probably got a chance to give a nice kind of feel out. It's a very low cost way also to test the waters on some of these casting choices, right? Because you do, leaks allow you to kind of see what the reaction is and maybe go in a different direction if you don't like the direction that, you kind of went in because of these leaks, right? And I think that's something which benefits the studios when they leak as well. Now, what are the castings, you may be asking? Or maybe you're not asking, but I'll tell you anyways. So, there we go. The castings are these. Here are the castings. So, we have Joseph Quinn from Stranger Things. Yes, that's the one. As Johnny. Now, this one I think was refuted. I don't remember. Now, some of these kind of since the point where they came out have been, kind of thrown away. I don't think this one's, again, in the very unlikely chance that there actually being a contract signed, I don't think this will be the final casting for Johnny, because I don't think people are liking this casting. However, that hasn't stopped Marvel Studios in the past. I don't think it's something that they're willing to do in this instance, at least. So I don't think that this is something which will last. Vanessa Kirby as the Invisible Woman, I really like that as a casting, if I'm being honest with you. I think she deserves bigger roles. I think this would be a great role for her. And I think she gives a different vibe to the character, right? Because you think Jessica Alba, obviously not the same. Whoever played the Invisible Woman in the last movie, I don't remember who that is. That was just a bad movie, but very different vibe, right? I think you want a different vibe. Also, none of these people except for Jack Quaid are American, so that could have played a part in that. We also know that Jack Quaid is going to be in this movie, apparently. Again, nothing's been signed yet, but he's going to be in this as some mystery character. So we obviously know that. And there was the Mr. Fantastic one. I didn't put that one on here because I don't know why I didn't, but I'm not talking about that one right now. Jack Quaid from The Boys is going to be playing a character in the Fantastic Four, and I'm glad he's not Johnny. Again, I don't think it would work because the initial rumor was, he's going to be Johnny, and then it was, nope, Joseph Quinn, and now it's, even though I don't think either of those are the case, honestly, I don't think any of these castings are relevant because I don't think any of them stand beyond, whenever the strike ends. So, I legitimately don't believe any of these. Vanessa Kirby is probably the only one I would be okay with keeping. Now, Jack Quaid as a Silver Surfer maybe would be interesting, personally. We'll talk in a minute because obviously, as you can see on the screen, Galactus is also on the screen because he is being said to be the main villain. Now, I'm worried about this. And the reason I'm worried about this is because, first of all, Galactus doesn't have a great history in the films. Obviously, his giant cloud form in Rise of the Silver Surfer in that Jessica Alba series, or not trilogy because there wasn't a third one, but the two movies. The second one, obviously, with Galactus being a cloud. I don't know if I love the idea of Galactus being the first villain. The reason for that is because I was always under the impression unless they're being used in a Dormammu role, right? Like in Doctor Strange, how Dormammu was used. You could, like, if that's what they mean by main villain, like, okay, he'll be there, but he'll be like Dormammu, and he won't really he'll be pulling the strings, but he won't actually be the person they fight. Because I think he's too big of a villain to fight. And I didn't love what they did with Kang, where they made him, Loki fought Kang, Ant-Man fought Kang. Like with Thanos, you didn't have anyone fight Thanos. Thanos fought everybody and beat everyone. But now you have people defeating Kang, and then it gets to a little weird point, right? And then same thing happened with Galactus. I was really hoping, well, either you have Silver Surfer as the main villain, but I was really hoping that they do something like out of left field, like Mole Man, or the Super Skrull, or Impossible Man, instead of doing Galactus. But, again, don't have much control over that. I highly disagree. But at the end of the day, I'm not super jazzed by these castings, if I'm being honest. They don't seem to be like, oh my God, these are the castings. And I don't know if those will ever happen, because I think we all kind of put a lot of emphasis on, like, a lot of like, oh, okay, these are the castings, when in reality, I don't know if those real castings, quote unquote, exist. Now, anyways, I was watching the first 3 episodes of the new season of Harley Quinn. Now, at this point, actually, it's been more than that. It's like 4 episodes. However, when I was watching episode 3, it kind of clicked in my mind. This is really one of the best DC TV shows. But then when I did that, then I was like, okay, I can't just, make a claim like that, because what if there's things I'm just forgetting? So then what I did was I came up with my top 5 DC TV shows ever. In the modern era, so Adam West Batman's not included, that kind of era of stuff. Linda Carter's Wonder Woman, that stuff's not included. I'm saying more in the modern era. So you've got all the CW stuff, you've got all the DC Universe stuff, and then you've got all of the kind of like Adult Swim Teletoon stuff. Okay, and this is the list I came up with to do. So, is this playing even? Oh, wait, Adam West Batman is there. Oopsies. I need to clarify that what I just said was a lie, because it was initially supposed to be a top 3. My thing here says top 3, which has all the exceptions. I ended up making it a top 5 because I wanted to include Adam West Batman, because otherwise it becomes too predictable. Anyways, back to the list. So at number 5, you have Adam West Batman, because Adam West's Batman is the original and, in my opinion, the best version of Batman. You also have the best version of every single villain of Batman. In my opinion. I think you have the best Catwoman, you have the best Joker, you have the best Penguin, you have the best Two-Face, you have the best Robin, best Alfred. Now, at number 4, you have Batman, the animated series. Yes, so far we're 2 for 2 with Batman. This is the best animated version of Batman. I don't know if anyone would actually disagree with that. You've got other shows, like you got Brave and the Bold. You've got, a few other shows there. You got Batman Beyond, I guess that counts too. But that's best. That's probably the best animated version of the Joker. The best animated version. I mean, you can argue if you want to call the Arkham Knight trilogy an animated version of Joker, then maybe you can have an argument there. But for real, it is the best version of the Joker and the best version of Batman. And also one of the most compelling stories. Now, number 3, we have, if I'm not mistaken here, Justice League, the TV show, which was I'm combining Justice League Unlimited and Justice League because it's like technically like 6 seasons, half of which was Justice League Unlimited. So I'll count that whole thing. Again, it's really hard to do. Like, look at the Avengers, right? You had Earth's Mightiest Heroes, but then you had Avengers Assemble. It's really hard to do great team shows. It's really hard to do a great Justice League movie, apparently, as, you saw the great struggle of Joss Whedon to do it. This show did it, and this show did it without much, assistance from other movies, right? They just dropped in these characters and said, look, this is the team. And I think it worked effectively. I think, again, it is a peak level of, what you can do with TV. And I know there's 2 animated things on here. DC's animated TV is significantly better than their live-action TV, Adam West Batman notwithstanding. So, with that being said, let's go on to number 2. And number 2 is going to be the Young Justice itself. Yes, Young Justice at number 2, I know. And we all know it's going to be at number 1 because because that's how it ended up working out. Anyways, Young Justice, peak show. it's almost flawless if we're being honest. Like, it does the Justice League thing just better, and it does it with lesser known characters and does it even more effectively. I think the stories in Young Justice are a lot more grounded, personal, and emotional. But at the same time, that's why I think the level of difficulty with Young Justice is a lot higher than that with Justice League. You've got to, you had to have a show which matured with the audience a little bit more. Like, Justice League didn't really mature with its audience in the same way. You didn't have to kind of, go on the line of like, animated kind of enjoyment, but also the serious adult kind of themes kind of intertwined, and I think Young Justice did that perfectly and still does do it. But at number one, of course, we do have Harley Quinn. Now, Harley Quinn, I think, does what Young Justice does, but does it to an even higher and greater level. And what I mean by that is this. Harley Quinn is a hilarious show. It's raunchy, all that other stuff. However, at the end of the day, it still manages to sneak in messages, sneak in, these emotional moments, and that's something which is very hard to do, because the tone of the show is that if you had nothing, no emotion, no stake, nothing, no one would complain. So, but, I think this show has shown that you can do that and still have the emotional moments as well. So that's why, I got to give Harley Quinn the nod at number one. Now, I think at the end of the day, the top five, I could, maybe tomorrow I'll be like Young Justice. Like, even as I was kind of going through them today, I made this like a few weeks ago. Young Justice, or last week or whatever, Young Justice probably now in my mind be ahead. I think Batman would probably jump up over Justice League, I think Harley Quinn would it'd be Young Justice, Batman, Harley Quinn, Justice League, Batman, Adam West Batman. But again, I still believe these are definitive five. I just think the order in which they kind of exist can really change based on day to day. What are your top 5 DC shows? Let me know. And then, what happened was I started thinking. And I was like, you know what? I'm having fun making lists. I'm going to create a top 5 sitcom list. Look, it's already revealing my 5 because I'm not even ready to go yet. Okay, so, yes, I did make a top 5 sitcom list. And yes, number 5 is Modern Family. Now, there are a few things here. The one thing I do have to say, I didn't include things that I haven't seen. So there's one notable thing which you won't see on this list, which would be on this list if I had seen it, but I hadn't, so I couldn't put it on the list. And then there's one thing which I snubbed because I felt like it didn't deserve to be a top 5 show, but I know everyone will come at me for that. There's probably other things I haven't seen that I snubbed, but like there's one big one I know for a fact everyone will get mad at me for snubbing. But anyways, these are my top 5 sitcoms. Number 5, as you saw, was Modern Family. Modern Family is a show which, again, longevity, emotion, funny. Because at the end of the day, if you can't keep your audience engaged, and we'll talk about why some of these are the case in a minute because I have some more graphs because I like graphs. But again, Modern Family does such a great job, such an emotional ending, all that good stuff. How I Met Your Mother is at number 4. This probably feels a little bit low for this show. Again, a show which is really just a gem in TV. And again, as someone who doesn't love TV outside of like sitcoms, also none of the animated stuff is here, so you don't have any Simpsons, Family Guy, or any of those shows. So that's just something you should note. Because, I want to do real people sitcoms. But anyways, I think that's a show which is just amazing. Now we've got at number 3, we have The Big Bang Theory. Again, I think there's a lot of people who would quibble with this being at 3. It's, I think a lot of people put How I Met Your Mother or Modern Family above those. I think Blackish was one of the ones that was like right on the outside. So spoiler alert, Blackish didn't make it in. Brooklyn Nine-Nine is another one which was right on the outside. But I think The Big Bang Theory, again, does the perfect... Like, I think I care more about the ending. The one I was really mad I couldn't put in here, and I was really trying to find a way to do it, but I couldn't justify it, was Veep. I think Veep truly would be 6. I was really, really trying to find a way. But I think at the end of the day, the biggest thing for me with sitcoms is how they end, right? Now, I think that makes it a little bit hard if it's an ongoing show, which there aren't that many of it off the top of my head. Like, if you exclude the animated stuff. I don't think there are that many ongoing ones because like all three of these have finished. Number 2 and number 1 are both finished. Scrubs is also somewhere there. Frasier, there's a whole bunch of shows there, but at the end of the day, I think this show, again, I care about the ending, right? And I care about not only keeping you engaged throughout the entire run and not feeling you're repeating yourself, but also, which, is something I do often on this podcast, probably done multiple times today. However, when it comes to a sitcom, I don't want it to feel like, okay, it's going on, and they already did this story like, last week. So I think that this is another one where it's like, this show had a great ending, and it built up to that ending perfectly. I mean, at the end of the day, the elevator getting fixed at the end was really the all you needed for the ending. But also, like, when you really wrap, like, Modern Family, I think, did this really well. How I Met Your Mother obviously did this pretty much perfectly, and obviously Big Bang Theory had the perfect ending as well. Now at number 2, you do have one of the greatest sitcoms of all time in many people's minds, and hence why it's at number 2, which is Friends. Friends, again, ending-wise, they did exactly what they needed to do. It was, again, probably one of the better endings for a sitcom, especially something that caliber. And then number 1, which honestly, I'll be biased here, honestly, it's the best ending for a sitcom ever, and that's going to be Cheers. I think Cheers is truly the best sitcom. I think it did stuff which was revolutionary at the time. I think it's something which is still holds up today. It's something you can still watch episodes of and say, my God, that was great. Ted Danson's amazing. And again, the ending, the storylines, the way they kind of move through characters and deal with stuff that happens to the actors. Obviously, Coach unfortunately passing away in the middle of that show. Like, they just do a great job dealing with all of those different things and still coming out with arguably one of the better sitcoms now. I think 2.5 Men is another one, which there's a lot of great sitcoms. Like, I could probably do a top 10 and have things that are left out. Maybe I will do a top 10. Maybe I'll do another 5. I'll do like the 5 that of the best of the 5 best of the 5 that weren't the best. So basically, like, the next 5. But for now, this is the top 5. Again, I do care about endings. There's some other stuff I care about, which I'll show you in a minute. And that minute is now, where I'm going to show you this graph. This graph is a graph which shows the viewership for the sitcoms by season, and these are all just the ones I put on there. And obviously the views are by millions. The seasons are on the bottom, and again, these are just graphs I was making, and then I want to show off the fact that I made the graph. There's really no point to this. This really doesn't show anything in terms of what I'm trying to do here. I mean, I guess Cheers, like, is doing some stuff. Like, it kind of proves a point there, but there really was no point here. That was just to show off the fact that I made a graph that looked nice. Now, this graph does actually show things, okay? And this graph is a graph which I believe is really useful. I have to even leave studio mode so I can probably see the graph. This graph shows episodes and longevity. As you can see, The Big Bang Theory, Cheers, and then there's the ones with stars or asterisks or whatever, and the ones that aren't are asterisks to say, like, they weren't on that list, but they're ones that people would kind of put in there. I think the reason I put Scrubs and The Office both on there was because I think people look at The Office as a tier above Scrubs. However, I think I would point to longevity and say, look at all these shows. Look at the Modern Family longevity, The Big Bang Theory, like How I Met Your Mother. All those shows I put, How I Met Your Mother is probably the shortest one, and it's still longer than The Office, right? So I think that does have to, at least in my mind, factors into it, because if you can sustain greatness like The Big Bang Theory did for the longest, or Cheers did for one of the longest, right? Versus if you have a very short time to do it, I think there is a difference in how you get evaluated for that. It's back to studio mode time. Now I want to do a little bit of a blind reveal game here. So we're going to do... I don't want this to... No, damn it. Okay, so we're going to do a blind reveal. You've kind of already seen the answers, unless I can crop it out. Unless I decide to edit this and get rid of it. But otherwise, I want to go through some stuff here. So on one side, you have episodes. On the other side, you have, the first call or row is episodes. Second one is peak viewership. So this was the season with the highest viewership and millions of views. And the last one is Rotten Tomatoes score. The sitcom on the left looks like the superior sitcom, right? Well, look at the right versus the left here. Look at the right versus the left. Now, boom, there we go. Damn it. Okay, we're gonna get there. Okay, this isn't working. Anyways, so the sitcom that was, there we go. That's close enough. So the sitcom on the left is Cheers, on the right is The Office. Look, one went for significantly more episodes, higher peak viewership. Now, at the same time, I'm aware that The Office came out kind of on the downward trend of cable, although still came out relatively early, so I can't even say that was fully the fact. I also understand the Office stream numbers far outweigh Cheers streaming numbers. However, I think Cheers being significantly older does affect that. Also, the availability of it on streaming services, unlike The Office, does also hurt it. And then obviously you got the Rotten Tomatoes score for Cheers being significantly higher than that of The Office. Anyways, just because I felt like people would kind of complain about me not putting The Office there, even though I caveated it by saying things I've seen, of which The Office does not fall into. But anyways, now on to the next thing we're doing. And now this is going to be, David Ayers was tweeting, and so I got a little bit of a tweet here I'm going to read to you. He says, quote, and David Ayers, the director of the first Suicide Squad movie. So, quote, the interest in my cut being shown seems real and organic. That might have supposed to be said shown, but whatever. And Gunn told me it would have its time to be shared. He absolutely deserves to launch his DC universe without more drama about old projects, end quote, from David Ayer Movies, which is David Ayer's Twitter account. This was when there was a bunch of pictures coming out, some from him about, different concepts that were in his version of Suicide Squad, which apparently still is something that people were talking about. I personally love the first Suicide Squad and the form it came out in. Okay, that's a little bit of an exaggeration. I thought it was a decent movie. I am genuinely curious about his version of the movie. I think this is the most interesting thing, is that he said Gunn told him it would have its time to be shared, and and I think the fact that he said those words does mean they're at least looking at it. Now, is it a streaming dump? Probably, right? Like, in all likelihood, it is a streaming dump. Would I be like, that would be an interesting thing. Obviously, James Gunn also directed the second Suicide Squad movie, so he's familiar with the character. I would be interested in what he has to say about that, or what actually comes of this, because if David Ayer's kind of been hinting at that, then that's definitely interesting. I feel like somehow it's going to get out, because if David Ayer still has access to it, it'll get leaked, and I think it'll get out at some point, even if they don't officially launch it. So I guess in that sense, if it's already done and you're not putting in any more money, and you can just kind of release it, then why not, right? My view's always been, if it's already sunk cost, you might as well put it out and see if you can recoup some of the stuff you've spent on it, right? Which is why I was against the Snyder Cut generally, was because I thought, okay, I wouldn't put money into making it, but obviously they ended up doing that. But I would release it in whatever form it's in. Like, the Snyder Cut is saying the same thing. Like, don't put any more effort into it. However, if you have a version of this movie, just dump it as is. Who cares? Because it's already made. At this point, you're not scrapping it for tax write-offs. So there's no harm in just putting it out and just seeing if people like it, right? Because at least then you calm people down and you kind of get to move on. I think this would be a dangerous gamble, though, because at the same time, we have to remember that, as soon as you kind of open that door, then everything comes back, right? Like, I'm seeing all these wild Justice League takes over the last little bit, which is, again, very disconcerting to me. But, this is something that's happening. So I guess I'll be genuinely interested to see it, just like I was for the Snyder Cut. But at the same time, again, I don't know if it's necessary. Anyways, going on to there we go. See, I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. Okay. Actually, I don't even need that anymore. So now we're going to go on to our last two items we have. And those are two reviews I'm doing. One, of course, is for High School Musical, the musical series, season 4, which I was going to do a long time ago because I literally binged it from 10, 11 to 4 in the morning because I had to watch two other movies. One for the Tupi, I had to watch the Tupi and Bean movie and then prepare for that interview with the voice of Tupi, which is out everywhere, wherever you're listening to this. And I had to watch the movie I'm going to talk about next, called Billion Dollar Heist. So first, let's talk about High School Musical, the musical, the series, season 4. Now, I do have a quote here, which I didn't put on the screen because I forgot I saved it, if I'm being honest with you. Nope, that's just haters. Here it is. So I was kind of going to come on here and rip Disney. And what I was going to rip Disney for was canceling the series. But then this quote came out, and then I changed my mind. So I'm going to read the quote to start. This is from Federal, I don't know, whatever it is, one of the people who worked on the show, writer or producer or something. Anyways, quote, I went to Disney and said, let's wrap it up now. They said, okay, we got it. Let's go out on the top. I shut off the possibility of a 5th season because I didn't want the cast or crew who had put so many years into the show go away over a hiatus. Then if we didn't get renewed, now we're in the middle of a strike. It would have totally sucked to end on a cliffhanger. Now, again, I think this is Disney's fault because I think he was worried about ending on a cliffhanger. So he's like, you know what, let's just end it before we have to end it on a cliffhanger, which is smart, right? Because a lot of great shows are ruined by cliffhangers and then getting canceled after that. I don't think it would be now the realm possibility Disney did cancel it because they hate good content. However, I do think it was a misguided choice by Disney, at least to not give them multi-season renewal. Because this is still, in my opinion, the best version of a remake Disney's ever done. And what I mean by that is this. Or any remake anyone's ever done. Because this is what they did. They did something literally lightning in a bottle. And what I mean by that is they found a way to continue the High School Musical story, right, after the trilogy. But not do it in a way which feels like they're replacing the old one. They're not doing it in a way which feels like they're just copy and pasting the old one again. Or they're completely doing something which completely rips apart the old one. Like, they didn't do any of that stuff. And they did it by literally saying that was a movie. Now we're in the real world with these other kids. They also got, in my opinion, the literal perfect cast. And even more so, I think the cast was so good. The fact that you had Olivia Rodrigo, who of course starred as Nini in the first 2 seasons, go off, break out into music superstardom or whatever, to the point where she's just starting to release kind of parts of her second album. In the middle of the show, the fact that you had that, and then you had Sophia Wiley, who just came in here and literally took over the show as the female lead, and really just won. It's very hard to have someone who is a tertiary character kind of just come in and say, no, I'm sorry, now I'm good. And she did. And she really did take over the show. And she did it in a way which made you kind of forget that there was this massive, the person the show was built around, or one of the people the show was built around, just kind of left. And the show was able to kind of keep going without missing a beat. They also, the people who wrote the show, man, they know how to end something, because this season, knowing it was the ending, was amazing. They wrote Olivia Rodrigo's character Nini perfect, probably the best you could ask for. I think my only disappointment was that Nini didn't come back for the finale. Again, I understand the situation, but it would have been nice if they could have brought her back. Same with Zac Efron and Vanessa Hudgens. Again, I wish, or Sharpay, whoever plays Sharpay, I don't remember her name off the top of my head, which is going to make me feel like an idiot in a second, which is why I'm going to go take a look at it right now. But yeah, I think it was a big disappointment that they didn't. Oh, Ashley Tisdale, right? Anyways, the fact that they didn't have those 4 characters come back in the finale. I'm also angry that it was the finale, because I love this show and I think this could have gone forever and ever and ever. And it's funny because initially I was like, okay, the show is not going to be able to last beyond season 3. They managed to do that because they managed to just branch out and become their own thing, kind of separate from High School Musical, and then ending it with technically quote unquote High School Musical 4 was again remarkable. But I think it has to be just said how amazing this, like, you know, how well they did this. And again, this show just ended perfectly. Like, every episode was like an emotional hit after emotional hit. And they ended it happily too, right? Like, they didn't end it kind of like messy and sad. They nicely wrapped up everything. And it did feel satisfying as much as I didn't want it to end. I think I felt better about the ending after it came out than before I started the season, which is a very weird thing because normally I feel really good about, okay, this is going to end really well. And then it's like, nope. Look at Secret Invasion, right? Like, oh, this is going to be a great show. Look, the first half is great. Oh, damn. Right? Like, you see that all the time where the ending kind of lets you, Game of Thrones, right? Ending just lets you down. I think I felt really like, oh my God, this is going to suck. This is going to be a terrible end. They're not going to end it well at all. They're just going to leave it like, nope, they ended it perfectly. And again, do I think there's a possibility of them doing a next generation High School Musical, the series, or some, you know, sequel spin-off thing? I mean, I don't know how well this is doing. I didn't do that enough research into figuring out what the numbers are looking like or what people are saying the numbers are looking like for the show. So I don't know if Disney would even be willing to invest in another version of this. I don't know if they saw the writing on the wall that it was going to be canceled, that they tried to keep going. So maybe that, you know, again, I don't know what those situations are, but at the end of the day, I do believe this is the best Disney Plus original. I will say that without a doubt. Like, from start to finish, this is the best Disney Plus original. Now, I am a sucker for musicals. I am a sucker for High School Musical and all that other stuff. But I think I will say without a doubt, this is the best. This is the best High School Musical or best Disney Plus thing, original series. Probably one of the best Disney TV series ever. I'll go on a limb and say that. Now, maybe next week or at some point I'll do a ranking of the top 5 Disney TV shows ever, but I definitely think this makes it. I think this was just top tier, and I think, you know, they created a culture, and they made people fall in love with these characters, right? Like, they didn't just kind of throw a bunch of people here and say, look, there's people. They actually did try to create new characters, right? Original, unique characters. And the other thing they did amazingly was, even though the show went in its own direction, they still had those, you know, overtones of High School Musical, right? Like, they kept the same themes in place, right? They had people in the same situations, right? But without actually doing it. Like, they literally just did High School Musical 3 and 4 together in like a nice big, you know, thing for the season finale, right? They did, you know, in the summer, in season 1 and 2, they made them exactly High School Musical 1 and 2, even though they were doing the musical, but they were also doing their own stuff. Also, this show had some of the best original songs, like from top to bottom. Honestly, I think this season had the worst original songs, which is saying a lot because it's a very high standard. I think season 1 had the best original season 2 had the best original songs. Again, maybe I'll do a song ranking for this, who knows, but I just wanted to talk about that show and say it was literally amazing. It sucks that it's over, but it was such a great ride, and I can't wait to see what they do with this show because, look, at the end of the day, if it makes money, then they'll keep doing stuff with it forever and ever and ever because that's how Disney rolls. And as I get toward the fact that I somehow managed to do this for, an hour? It's 43 minutes. Oh, my God. I'm going to talk about the last thing, which is the last movie I watched, the thing I watched before I started watching High School Musical, the series, season 4. And that is Billion Dollar Heist, the documentary. Now, this was a very exciting documentary. I'll be honest with you, I didn't expect it to be this exciting going into it. But I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. Like, it was pure thrill. And it's all, like, there's a lot of, like, you know, and this is the thing I always kind of get into a weird point about, which is when you have something that's so technically deep, right, like a documentary about cybersecurity and Bangladesh banks, you don't expect to be, you know, sometimes you can get to a point where it kind of like goes over your head because I'm no cybersecurity expert, but the way they wrote this and they built this really made it simple. Like, they used a lot of analogies to, like, just everyday things. And I wish I remembered some of them right now, but they really simplified it. to where like they literally said like, look, and I think maybe that's some benefits of cybercrime is like it does end up being so simple when you boil it all down, but like they didn't go into all the technical details. You just look, someone clicked on an email and this is what happened because of it, and it kind of puts everything in perspective too, right? Because I think it does raise awareness of like, look, this is how easy it is to for something like this to happen, and I think it raises the awareness, but it also does some of the other stuff, like making people aware of what's happening, and also keeping you excited and interested, right? They obviously tied into Sony Pictures. They also keep a lot of mystery again. I think it helps that the people are mysterious in and of themselves. But I think that, again, you didn't bring on experts who were going to be droney and blah, 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 blah. But you're able to keep everything very exciting, engaging, interesting. But yeah, I mean, again, I loved it. It was such a cool concept. There were so many times like I feel like I should probably watch this after I watch the Tubing Beanie movie, because that's like a little more urgent here. But I couldn't turn it off because I was like, this is literally so great. I need to sit through this and I need to finish this because this is this is exciting. And then I watched the Tubing Beanie movie after that, and also watched episode 1 of. That was a very weird night. I watched 8-episode season finale and 2 movies. I need to not do that anymore because I slept 2 hours that night and then went to work. Anyways, with that being said, if I had to give it a grade, probably like, an 8 or something. But with that being said, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share your thoughts. Follow us on social media at comicboys_. And I'll see you all next time. Bye. But don't go away, because next we're going to have a discussion. I guess it's part 2 of this show, which is going to be, is Christopher Nolan overrated? Plus some Barbie talk and some football talk, because that's something that always ends up happening when I talk to Alon. Anyways, bye.